Hey folks, how about a little college football conversation here? Offensive line starts is something, a statistic that I'm really starting to pay a lot of interest in. I have for the last couple of years. I saw a story, I don't know if it was I think it might have been the Wall Street Journal online, and it's also linked down below here on the blog, on the Miller and Dace in the Morning blog. You look at offensive line starts that return for your season as a possible harbinger of what could come. Now, none of these things are scientific, but you look back to last year, I believe it was 8 of the final top 10 teams in the final poll had 65 or more offensive line starts returning. Missouri and Clemson had disappointing seasons. They fell off because they had fewer than 65 offensive line starts returning. You look at teams like Ole Miss and Oregon State that stepped up last year when they weren't expected to, rather. Ole Miss had something like 101 returning offensive line starts going into 2008, and Oregon State had nearly 80, and they had a very surprising year as well. That leads us to this year. Now, offensive line starts are the returning offensive linemen you have. You add up the number of starts those linemen have made in their career, and if the number is 65 or above, at least to date, that's a decent harbinger of a possible successful season. Now, scheduling certainly plays a factor into that as well. Big Ten, Iowa, 98, tops in the Big Ten. Minnesota is number 2 at 96. The two teams at the bottom, one of those teams, and the team at the bottom of the Big Ten is the team that I've been saying since January that I believe is going to be the most overrated team in the country come the end of next college football season, and that's Penn State. They have fewer than 40 returning offensive line starts. They had 3 first-team All-Big Ten offensive linemen last year. All 3 of those players gone into the NFL, not coming back to the Big Ten. Michigan and Indiana are also above that 65 line. Doesn't matter for Indiana. I don't care that they return 17 starters next year for their whole team. Michigan returns a lot too. I don't think either of those teams is going to be a 500 football team. Michigan State is second from the bottom in the Big Ten, something to keep an eye on. So Iowa, not only number 1 in the Big Ten, but I think amongst BCS conference schools plus Notre Dame, they're 4th in the nation. I believe you've got Georgia at 99, you have Virginia Tech at 100, you have Notre Dame at 100, Iowa's right there with 98. Iowa is among the top 4 in the BCS conferences and Notre Dame in America this year. Over in the Big 12, they have 3 schools that are above 65. Iowa State right there at 61, and I think offensive line for Iowa State's going to be one of their big strengths as they head into this season, whereas 6 of their 8 Big 12 games last year, Iowa State, I believe, had more than 24 first downs. That's huge production if you could average something like that for a season. Averaged about 26 points per game on offense, but gave up 35 points per game on defense. They need to raise those things up to give themselves a shot at a 500 season and a possible bowl bid. That's it for now. Obviously, more college football to come between now and September on Miller and Dace in the Morning.